Hello, it's me, Stacy. I'm going to talk to you today about the history of photography. I chose this topic because photography is a hobby of mine and I'm pursuing it as a career also. What I'm going to give you is information about when photography came about, who were some of the world's famous photographers, and the different types of photography available today. On to my first point. When did photography start? History shows photography was first mentioned by scientist Sir John F. W. Herschel in 1839, but the first photograph wasn't produced until 1827 by Joseph Niepce with the pinhole camera. The pinhole camera was the first camera ever invented, and the inventor was Al-Hazzan in 1000 AD. Why the time difference between when it was first invented and when it was first photographed? Well, it was because the camera was first used for viewing things and drawing purposes. The first prototype for photograph was created by Niepce, and they were called heliografs or sun prints, which allowed light to draw a picture. They were made in light pieces of metal, which took 8 hours of light exposure to create, and then soon after, the image would start to fade. The first practical process of photography was invented by Louis Daguerre. He formed a partnership with Niepce in 1829. In 1839, he created the convenient and effective method of photography called daguerreotype. In this process, images were fixed on silver-plated copper and then coated with iodine, which made the surface sensitive to light. In 1849, the first negative was invented. It was created by Henry Fox Talbot. He called it the calotype. Then, in 1856, tintypes were patented by Hamilton Smith. Tintype is a thin sheet of iron that provided a base for light-sensitive material yielding a positive image. Wet plates negatives were invented in 1851 by Frederick Scott Archer. These were made with a piece of glass coated with collodion and light-sensitive silver salts. It became more stable and detailed. In order to use them or create them, you had to carry a portable darkroom with you. Dry plate negatives and handheld cameras were invented in 1879. They could be stored for long periods of time, eliminating the need of a portable darkroom. Flexible roll film was invented in 1889 by George Eastman. He also created the company Kodak. It wasn't until the 1940s that color was first introduced in photography. In the 1920s, roll film was introduced. That was when the 35mm was created for the 35mm cameras. Here is a list of when and who invented the different types of cameras. The first camera invented was by Al-Hazzan in 1000 AD. It was called the pinhole camera. The second was invented by Louis Daguerre in 1839, called the daguerreotype. The third was George Eastman in 1888 with the box camera, or Kodak. The fourth was by Oscar Barnack in 1905. That was when the 35mm was invented. The fifth was Edwin Herbert Land in 1948. He created the Polaroid. Sixth was Fuji. They created the disposable camera in 1986. And then the digital camera was introduced by Canon in 1984. Now on to the world's most famous photographers. I've only decided to talk about the top 5. There's quite a bit of famous photographers out there. First one is Robert Capa. He was born in October 22nd, 1913, and died in May 25th, 1954. He originally wanted to be a writer, but then fell in love with photography in Berlin. He moved to France in 1933 because of the rise of Nazism, and his first published photograph was of Leon Trotsky. making a speech in Copenhagen on the meaning of the Russian Revolution in 1932. Second is Carol Guzzi. She's a Pulitzer Prize winner and one of America's most renowned photojournalists of all time. She focuses on feelings rather than the pictures themselves. Over the years, she has brought viewers to Kosovo refugees, the famine in Ethiopia, civil unrest in Haiti, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and the tragedy of Hurricane Andrew in South Florida. And third is James Natway. He was born in 1948 in Syracuse, was influenced by imagery from the Vietnam War and American Civil Rights Movement. He started photographing for a small newspaper in New Mexico. He's been to South Africa, Latin America, Middle East, Russia, Eastern Europe, the Soviet Union, Western Europe, and of course the United States. He is also the founding member of the photo agency 7. Fourth one I'm going to talk about is Steve McCurry. He was born in April 23rd, 1950. He is one of American photojournalist. His most famous published work was of a 12-year-old African girl. The picture became famous in 1985 when the National Geographic used it as their cover photo, called Afghan Girl. And the fifth one is Dorothea Lange. She was born in Hoboken, New Jersey in 1895. She studied photography in New York City before World War I. She moved to San Francisco in 1919 and earned a living as a portrait photographer for more than a decade. Her interest grew to social issues during the Depression, and in February 1935 she documented migrant farm workers in Nipomo and the Imperial Valley for California State Emergency Relief Admission, and this is why she is one of the world's most famous photographers. Some of the top types of photography known today there's 13 of them. There's photojournalism, documentary, action, photography, macro photography, micro photography, glamour, aerial, underwater, art, portraiture, wedding, advertising, and travel. The next is the top 5 themes of photography. They include nature, people, travel, abstract, and product. Nature is by far one of the most popular. It can consist of waterfalls, sunsets, volcanoes, and mountains. And the rewards of capturing the world's natural attractiveness is limitless. Second is people. People has been and will be a great way to share memories and capture the foremost moments of life. One of the favorite categories in people are newborn babies, and Anne Geeds is famous for them. Travel is a popular one. Voyage pictures have become more popular, not just for tours, but for expert photographers. Old buildings, scenic cities capture cultures and traditions around the world and can range from people to places to objects and wildlife. Abstract has increased in popularity over the past few years, becoming a common selection for homeowners and can be the focal point in designing a room. The fifth is product, or also known as stock photography. It's a great way to grow sales, commonly professionally taken and used for marketing purposes for large companies. Common favorites are shoes, clothing, furniture, cars, home decor, and homes. So today I've talked about the history of photography, some of the world's most famous photographers, and the different types and themes of photography. I hope this is very informative to everybody, and have a good day.